like. So as I see it, and as we look at any DDoS solution, how we expect a DDoS solution to work is that first, it should be able to scale very effectively. It is so it should scale seamlessly to any number of requests that is coming in. This is this is required because you need to first observe the request that is coming in. The solution should observe the request without it going down. If not, what would eventually mean that the solution goes down, so all the traffic inline is dropped, which means the attacker has succeeded, right? So the first step that has to be done is you have to observe the request, the architecture has to scale. Then once it is observed, then analysis has to be done. And in these cases, in the case of DDoS attacks, looking at one request in isolation will not provide you any attack patterns, right? It could be a legitimate request to an origin, to an JPEG, to a home page, to a login page. So, right. So these things in isolation does not look like an attack. But all of a sudden, you are seeing multiple requests for these resources, and collectively looking at the behavior of the resource, behavior of the users, you have to decide whether it is an attack or a legitimate pattern, and then allow it. Right. So this is how a typical DDoS solution should work. It should scale first, observe the request, analyze it, and then allow only legitimate requests to the origin. So one, it should scale first, scale seamlessly. So that has to be taken care of, and it is paramount. The DDoS protection should be inline so that it can look at all the requests in real time and take corrective actions. It should not be an on-off kind of a situation where when there is some kind of a DDoS observed, then you switch it on to do corrective actions, right? So then it is either too late or it is not ineffective, and or you end up adding latencies when such things happen. Then the next part is about how do you analyze, right? And as I talked about in the last slide, you cannot just rely on generic rate limits, right? You need to be able to understand the behavior of request that is coming in, and based on the behavior of the request, determine whether a DDoS is happening, and then block it, right? So what I mean by that is understand the behavior of how the users are typically accessing the site. What is the typical baseline looks like? Do they generally make 10 requests a minute, 20 requests a minute, whatever it is, right? And the protection should be around the behavior of the site, and it should be more granular. It cannot be very generic in nature. You have to be at a granular level. So typically, there would be only few requests to a login page, about 3 requests from a user. But to an home page, that could be 20 requests or 100 requests, depending on how the application is working. And whereas to a checkout page, again, it will be lower. So there should be different granularity controls that should be available to configure and protect these critical resources granularly, so that there is so that the protection works effectively. Finally, there is a need to take customers' interest in mind when the solutions are built. One, it should be unmetered. At least they should not be penalized for attackers attacking them. So legitimate blocks should not be charged, and there should be support to the customers, where when there are sophisticated attacks happening and the out-of-box policies are not working, the security vendors should act as an experts and provide advices and customized policies to thwart these attacks. And there should be a mechanism to get through these things, right? So that's eventually how a solution should be built to block the kind of DDoS attacks that we are seeing in the current age.